They're completely scrapped.
At this stage, how are you feeling in terms of your recovery and whether or not you're going to be able to come back to boxing?
I'm just hoping I can recover. I'm not really thinking about boxing at all. It's just making sure I got movement and be able to do daily functions with my right arm as I had before. For me, that's the most important thing at the moment.
The doctors, as we've heard, have advised you to retire. What are your thoughts on whether or not you're going to make that decision?
They've advised that. They believe throwing the shot that I throw with the haymaker, the big overhand right, is the worst punch I could possibly throw with the injury that I've got. I had to reconstruct my shoulder. I had 6 pins in my shoulder connecting the tendons back to the bone, and it's not ideal. But I'm just got other stuff going on, so I'm just trying not to drive myself mad about it. As long as I'm still healthy, as long as my arm can function normally, I'll be happy.
So at this stage, you're not even considering whether you're going to stay in boxing or whether it's just a question of getting healthy?
I don't think it's been able to. I could box probably, but just with my left hand, fighting at heavyweight against these big giant guys, I'm going to need the haymaker. The haymaker's the difference. That's what keeps people at bay. That's what knocks people out. So once it's just like taking Joe Frazier's left hook or Muhammad Ali's jab, George Foreman's right hand, they cease being who they are, and that is my big overhand right is what I do best. And once you take that away, I'll be a shell of the fighter I was.
It'd be a real shame, a real loss to the sport, because you would be leaving it with some great memories.
Yeah. I've achieved my goal. My lifelong ambition was to become the heavyweight champion of the world. I was the heavyweight champ, the WBA heavyweight champ. The real belt. I was the champ for 2 years. And en route to that, I was the undisputed cruiserweight champ. When I went to foreign territories to win a WBC, WBA, Ring Magazine belts, unified it in the UK, in my hometown, against Enzo Maccarinelli, winning all the belts. So I've had my success. Defended the heavyweight title a couple of times. So if this is it, then I haven't had a bad shout in boxing.
That night in particular against Nikolai Valuev, when you picked up that world heavyweight title, that must have been the sweetest of sweet nights. Yeah, it was. Since I was age of 3, I said I'm going to be the heavyweight champ. I didn't know how big I was going to be. I just did. I'm going to be heavyweight champ, and I said it so many times, year in year out. Even when I was cruiserweight, people say, okay, you're not really that big to be a heavyweight. I said, I don't care. I'm going to win a heavyweight title one day, and I did. And to have a lifelong ambition, realised is something that not many people do in this world. So to say I've achieved my lifelong ambition is a really puts a smile on my face. Any regrets though? I mean, do you feel as if there's maybe a bit of unfinished business with the Klitschkos?
Yeah, ideally I'd want to beat all the best guys around. I wasn't able to beat Vladimir. He beat me on points. I always believed I underperformed. I could have done better, but it looks like I'll never get the opportunity to prove that now, which is a big shame. But I'll have to live with that.
What do you think your legacy will be if it ultimately comes to deciding to retire?
Hopefully, one of the best cruiserweights of all time. For me, Evander Holyfield is number one, and I don't really see too many other cruiserweights that I believe could have beaten me over the years. There's been some great ones, but I feel confident that I could beat any of the others. And as a heavyweight, someone who wasn't a genuine heavyweight, someone who wasn't the biggest guy. I'm always been the smallest guy in the fight, and somebody who took on the biggest out there. I did the biggest heavyweight champion in history, Nikolai Valuev. I went over to Germany and beat him on home turf, and I did things that people didn't really believe I could do, and I'm really sort of proud of my achievements.
Well, you'll be looking from the sidelines for this fight for this weekend. You've got a pretty unique perspective, I guess, from a lot of angles, because you obviously know Carl Froch very, very well, but George Groves, former stablemate of yours. How much are you looking forward to this, and what do you think is going to happen here? I've
got to take myself away from it from a personal perspective, as I know both of them very, very well. I've known Carl Froch since I was a teenager. We both used to box. We used to both roommates. We was both roommates for years. George Groves, since he's an amateur, I've known George, and he's been trained with me day in, day out, been all over the world with him, so I know both of them very, very well. But I want to try and enjoy this fight as a fan. I'm just going to sit back and just enjoy it, because I know both of these guys are great fighters. You've got George Groves, who's got it all to prove, and you've got Carl Froch, who's proven it time and time again. He's about 11 years older than George, so he's up there. He's had these tough fights, so can he do it again? I believe he can. And can George produce the goods when it counts? He's done it at European level, fringe world title. He hasn't fought at this level before. I've seen him perform at a world class level in the gym with big head guards and sparring gloves. But can he do it when under the lights with the 10-ounce gloves on. We will find out tomorrow night.
Obviously, you know him so well from working in the gym with him. It's almost as if you've been a mentor for him in many ways. Do you think he's ready? Is it right? Is the time right for him to step up?
I believe he's ready. If he's not ready now, he never will be. He's had the fights. He's ranked right there. He's mandatory. So what more does he need to do? You know, how many other fights does he need to have before he'll be ready? People keep saying that he's not ready yet. I'm like, okay, what does he need to do to become ready? You know, he's beaten everyone he's had before. It's not like he's struggled in all of his fights. You know, he's knocking people out with single shots. You know, things that he hasn't done in the past. So he's improving. He's getting better. And I believe, if he's ever going to win a world title, it will be now. He's physically, I believe, he's in his prime, and it's going to be a great fight.
Just finally, obviously, the switch of trainers has been a big talking point. Adam Booth not with him at the moment, George Groves, but the way George has gone about things in this last week or so and handled the psychological battle, if you like, is that classic Adam Booth hallmarks as far as you're concerned, do you think?
I think that's George Groves, to be honest. I think he's his own man. He knows what he wants to do. He knows what I know, but he truly believes what he's saying. You know, he's not just talking. It's just not hype. He genuinely believes this. I think Paddy is his new coach. He's a very good coach. I've known him for many years since I've actually worked with Paddy since I was 17. And, he's worked with James Toney, Layla Ali. Worked with Freddie Roach for many years. So he's a quiet burner, but he's one of those guys who know their stuff. So he's got a good guy in his corner in Paddy Fitzpatrick, and hopefully it doesn't affect the fight. I'd hate to think there's any type of element that affects the fight. I want both of these guys to be at their best. I want it to be a clean fight, no controversy, and there to be a clear winner. For me, that'd be an ideal night. I think they're both great fighters, both great people inside and outside the ring, both genuinely nice guys. And I'd love to see a nice clean fight and let the best man win.
Okay, David, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us. And there you have it, the views of the Haymaker. Looking forward to Froch versus Groves, the Lion Wave, the weigh-in live rather, here on Sky Sports News.
Yeah, great to hear from David. And thank you very much, Fraser.